in your MMQB, you discussed something that few in our business are discussing, which is Cam Ward. And I will echo the sentiments you made in your piece, Albert, which is I've not, in my 22 plus years of being an NFL Network guy, seen a first overall drafted quarterback discussed so infrequently in the world of sports conversation. I don't know if it's because the Titans don't have an interest level in the mind's eye of the national media, or if it's Ward. I don't know. But what did you glean from your discussions with Titans folks, Albert?
Yeah, it's crazy. It almost feels like all the hype around Shador kind of swallowed Cam Ward whole, and I'm sure for you, being on that stage during the draft, it was probably a little surreal.
I mean, to be honest with you, man, he's coming out of the tunnel to get the jersey from the commissioner, and that's when my producers got in my ears saying the Jaguars are on the clock. So it wasn't just Shador over the next 3 days. It was Travis Hunter in the actual moment, in a draft where there were no pre-draft trades famously. And then one happens literally when the second overall team is on the clock, and it was the Browns. So, that led to something, but Ward appears to be already in form, right?
For sure. And I thanks for mentioning that was in the column this morning. I asked around a little bit over the last few days about some stuff that they've done with him, and I thought this was really interesting. Like leading up to the draft, one thing they found with him, and I think this happens a lot with guys coming from college now, based on the offenses that they have at that level. The Cam Ward knew a lot of football, but he couldn't always explain it. He knew what to do, but he couldn't really take you through exactly why it was that way. It was like, I can tell you what I'm doing here. I can tell you what I'm looking at, but I kind of operate on instinct in some ways. And I'm right a lot, but he had a little more trouble explaining the whole thing. And so that was one thing they really tried to focus with him on, leading up to the draft. And then, after they drafted him. And so when they had the rookies in for the first time for the rookie mini camp a couple of weeks after the draft, that started on a Friday, and on the Saturday morning, a couple coaches come in at the 5 a.m. hour, and there's Cam Ward running a meeting with the rookie tight ends, receivers, backs. They didn't know he was doing it. The coaches didn't. He just brought everybody in early so he could take them through the script for the day, take them through what they were going to be learning on offense. And it was, of course, a sign of work ethic. He's there early in the morning with his teammates, but I think it was also, or at least they took it this way, as a sign of self-awareness. I need some practice at this. I need some practice at being able to verbalize what I'm seeing out there on the field so I can help the other 10 guys in the huddle. And so I'm going to get my practice working with my peers, with the other rookies, and explaining to them what we're doing over the course of the day. And so that wasn't for show, because every day that they've had a practice since then, he's had that 5 a.m. meeting with the other, rookie skill position players. I think it's kind of maybe a window into how important it is to him to be in position to get up and running and be prepared when they get to September. And they haven't named them starter yet, but I know the first team reps right now between him and Will Levis are 2-1. So they're certainly preparing Cam to be the starter there in early September.
Didn't Will Levis famously say last month, Albert, that anybody who's been in my position knows it sucks? So I think the writing's on the wall for him, and plus he's first overall. And it's just, I don't know. Last year, I understand Matt Eberflus, and certainly subsequent reporting definitely does not place him front and center as a guy who handles a first overall drafted quarterback expertly. But he basically said it's Caleb's gig. They didn't split reps. Yeah. They didn't state, they didn't avoid the obvious. But, it's clear it's going to be Cam Ward in Denver for Tennessee in week 1, which is a tough assignment, but that's why they got him. You know what I mean?
Sure.
That's
and I think And I think it's it's pretty obvious that that's the way it's trending. I do think it's interesting though, because I remember talking to Brian Callahan about this last year, and in 2020 they very quickly named Joe Burrow the starter in Cincinnati. Brian Callahan was the offensive coordinator there, almost out of necessity because that was the COVID year.
Yeah.
So you're gonna be so limited in your work that you almost had to do it. Like it was just, we can't waste any time here. We have to get him up and running if this is the plan. So they did it, and obviously it worked. And so they did that last year with Will Levis. Like, okay, like this worked for me in Cincinnati. We're going to do it again with Will Levis. And I think it's interesting that he's reversing course a little bit here. And I think a part of it, and this is me kind of putting the pieces together, Rich, but I think part of it is like he wants like Cam Ward's teammates to see that he earned the job after everything that they went through last year with Will Levis. It's like, let's give Cam every opportunity to win the job. Let's plan on Cam winning the job, but let's let him earn it. So the veterans in that huddle can see, yeah, they didn't just anoint this guy. This guy deserves to be our starting quarterback, should be our starting quarterback, is our starting quarterback. So I think that's sort of the logic there, not just handing him the job. They do want his teammates to see that he's actually earned it.
Catch the Rich Eisen Show live weekdays from 12 to 3 p.m. Eastern on Roku Sports Channel in the U.S.